The Hive is a members-only club, Lawai. Without a membership card, I can't let you in.
You telling me I gotta pay to get into this dive?
We've got a reputation to keep. Can't let just anyone get in here.
Just anyone with the money?
No pay, no play. You want in or not?
Maybe another time.
All right, your business. You come back and see me if you change your mind.
So one of the things we did here was that we had to actually move the hive slightly to the right towards the corner so that you could see it much more easily as you're walking down the street. Reasons for landmarking issues where you'll at least have something you can see in the distance that'll help you from getting lost. And another reason we had actually done it was for the bartender side quest. If you actually solve it in the correct way, I suppose you could say, when he puts up the giant TV screens and shows that the guy is the culprit behind the murder, well...
Actually,
it wasn't the bartender, it was Farida's. It was Farida's.
I was even more confused, but basically you could see it more clearly there. And you had a much bigger visibility on that, so it turned out really cool.
And also we had to make the building taller because we have a section on the rooftop, and if players were exploring, you had to see the hive on the... You remember,
you needed to see the whole thing.
Exactly, so...
And there was also this issue of players jumping off-world.
That's why we made it higher?
As the map grew, everything was getting harder and harder to contain the players in.
Here we have a few good examples of the stores in Lower Hangsha. This was really important to us, the credibility of these stores and all the...
Like in Detroit.
Like in Detroit, it's true. But they're very different because we're in Hangsha, and you know, the ways the products are displayed, and it's a lot more cluttered and everything. And what was interesting is they were actually made by Chinese people, because we actually outsourced their design in terms of concept art and also their production in terms of modeling and textures and whatnot. So I think they came out quite credible. And another interesting little bit of fact is the level of detail and credibility that I wanted was inspired by
Dead Rising.
Dead Rising is what I said, that mall zombie game, because the stores in that game, like obviously the whole game is a mall, right? Yeah. It's just insane. All the little products, the packaging, the placement of where they totally nailed it, and that's what it was. But I think it came out really good. And Hubert, the level designer who took care of bridging, I mean the level artist, sorry, who took care of bridging with the Chinese designing them and building them up, and with where they would fit in the map and the memory constraints, I have no idea how I did it, because there's like 6 or 7 different stores with so many different textures and products and stuff, and it just worked out quite well.
Also, pro tip, check the back of each store. There should be some loot.
Really? I didn't know. I was always busy looking at the products.
Good to see you again, sir. Go right in.
So now we're in the Hive, the bar that we have to meet our friend Tang Xiong. And actually that bar went through many iterations. Like we have memory limitations, we have streaming also to consider, a lot of things, but we wanted to build a place that would feel alive, that would feel that people will go there to have a good time on a Friday night after working hard all the week long and everything. And in the first iteration of the bar that we had, especially, we were trying to nail this down for the 2010 E3 demo.
Yeah.
And everybody were sitting around and just talking, and when we were getting in this place, it was like, it felt totally dead. Like it didn't feel, and especially
and it's supposed to be the most popular nightclub,
and we couldn't have that many NPCs on screen. And I went like, let's try to not add people, but instead have some of them that are standing up and just dancing, moving a bit, even though they don't do much. And just by doing that, it totally changed the kind of, the perception and the atmosphere of the place.
It's funny because we tried to make a really popular area, but the thing is, designers were limited in how many people we could place on screen at any given time. So it was really tough to make a crowd-like club scene with 15 people.
But in the end, it's not too bad.
Yeah, so we had to make people move around a lot, do a lot of different occupations that involved movement, especially because.
But it was mainly movement in place.
In place.
Those were the light and PCs.
Nobody's moving around. There's not one person moving around.
There's the waitress.
There's a very few that
are there? I don't remember. To me, everybody's just
They're cycling around, but
maybe it's one or two NPCs.
It's really not many.
And I think the name of the Hive, actually, if I remember correctly, it was a placeholder name. The Hive. We were working on the early story and stuff, and we were like, oh, we need a bar, and it should be like the Hive or something. And so we kind of put it in as a placeholder, figuring we would change it later. But then actually it ended up.
Well, Thierry, the concept artist who had a big part in visually designing it, got really inspired by that name, that temporary name, and made it look into some kind of design version of a beehive. So then we had to stick with it, I guess.
And then we could work with the worker bees and all that.
Yeah, they inserted
really,
in the text.
Dialogues afterwards.
Everything.
Inspired
So
some of their character design as well.
Sometimes temporary names.
And this place, I like it. It has a good atmosphere. The place looks good.
Yeah, because that was the idea, to make like bars in video games usually don't really feel like real bars. They feel like places. Like if you're some kind of alien that has been told what a bar is supposed to look like, but you've never been, and then you have to design it. That's usually what they look and feel like in video games. And I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't happen that way in the SX Human Revolutions, and also some of the contemporary stuff like the big media wall with the LED lights and awesome. It actually turned out pretty well
from far away in the streets as well. Like,
true. So it's it could have been even more credible than that, but I think it's one of the good. There's even like I think it's Xbox magazine. I don't remember. Probably not. Anyway, there's an article about all the, I think it was like the top 10 or top 5 best bars in video games, and we were like number 2 or something like that.
Which is not too bad. And I think also the song helps to sell the place.
The whole thing
creates a good atmosphere.
It broke when you got in. It broke the pace a bit. It changed the feeling the player had. You just get in, it's like a whole new environment within an environment. That was cool. It made you feel like you were really like in a new place, something gloomy.
It was different.
Yeah, very, very intricate.
Well, we're in front of the bartender, right? It's in the Hive. I think it was one of the places that inspired a lot of fans to make crazy videos with Jensen and the NPCs, like the Punch Revolution, Safety Dance
with the cover system. That's one of the great ones.
I remember this one, the Safety Dance. I was laughing. I was crying.
Because Adam makes this little groove when he goes from left cover to right cover or whatever, and this guy just like, hey, if I just keep on going, it looks like he's dancing. It just it just goes on for the entire Safety Dance song, which is, by the way, a song from Montreal. It was a Men Without Hats, which was one of the main 80s bands at the time.
What was the other video? Like, he goes in front of the bartender and he asks him, what kind of drink do you want? And then he goes in his head and he starts to punch everyone.
Because it's called the Chinese gut punch or something? Is that what it is? I think it's from there.
The names of those drinks. You can't imagine Adam Jensen drinking any of those.
Any of those, yeah. And then you see him kill everybody, and then he just gets out of his of his daydreaming of killing everybody. And he's like, the Chinese gut punch.
And what's even more fun with those drinks is you should go into the menus and you should look at the item descriptions, because they were written by Mark Chetchery and he had so much fun. The things that are in those drinks, you should read the descriptions of these drinks. They're talking about how poisonous they actually really are, and it's quite interesting. So take a look in the menus.
And he was in the AAs at that time, right, Mark? Just kidding. He had a couple of chips on his desk.
All that to say that the fans made us laugh quite a bit.
I love the guys.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's true what Jeff is saying. Now we're talking about a lot of the fan-made stuff in relation to the Hive, but just everything was so unexpected. We had no idea that it would connect that much. So thank you.
You got a favorite poison?
Give me a Shanghai gut punch.
Talking about the drink, right? There you go. You got a favorite poison?
I'm looking for Tong.
Everyone wants to talk to Tom. Check the VIP lounge upstairs.
Shit, it's gone. My pocket secretary.
对，那又怎样？这么贵的东西。
Yeah, so now we're in front of the bartender, like, which eventually will be revealed being Tong Xiong, but at this point we don't know that. And building this social boss fight, actually it's the first one we presented to the press in 2010 at E3.
Yes, the first one we showed.
It's not the first one we built, but this one was really, really hard to nail.
This one was really hard to nail for us from a writing perspective.
You were dealing with a stranger.
Yeah, I mean, when we were going through the blueprint, it was such a cool idea because we wanted our Kaiser Sose moment, you know, in the game. And when you think about that, it's like, oh, how cool is that going to be? But when you're actually faced with building the dialogue challenge, you're like, okay, but there's no common ground. There's nothing for him to be hiding from us. We don't know what we're trying to get out of him.
Yeah. And it's tough to make it personal.
It was tough to make it really, really personal. And, you know, like with Wayne Haas, we built this entire backstory and relationship between Jensen and him so we could kind of play with that. But here we struggled for a long, long time to figure out how do we make this at all interesting? I mean, why is it that he is just not going to tell you who he really is and all that? And I can't quite remember. I think it was you gave some inspiration to us by saying, kind of think about it in terms of Yoda.
Yoda and Luke Skywalker, their first encounter, like that the Yoda is like trying to guess or gauge what the kid is and everything. And so basically, this is how it helped us to solve the problem and try to play this kind of game where Tong Xiong tries to get a sense of who Jensen is and what he's got.
Yeah, and every single one of these you have to build them based on the personality of the character. So once we had that, we could sit there and say, okay, what is this character of Tong and what is he? And it ends up being, I think it's one of my favorite ones.
And actually, Tong Xiong didn't exist until we cut the Bangalore map.
That's true. Well, he existed here, but he wasn't an important character. He was really just the owner of the nightclub. But then we had originally had we had an entire
because the
map.
Harvesters were supposed to be in Bangalore.
I remember that.
And
and when we ended up having, we originally had an entire different map. Instead of coming back to Hangsha, you were supposed to go to India instead. Mm-hmm. And in India, you would meet another crime lord, and he would be a character there. And then when we had to cut India and we folded it into Hangsha, then suddenly we could take this character who was not very important in the beginning of the story. We could make him Tong Xiong. We could tie in the relevance to Deus Ex, the original, and it became much more important, and his character really blossomed at that point.
What was it about the if you win the conversation, like Tong's teleport to...
Yeah, we had a big problem with Tong's magical teleporting act that he had.
It's an augmentation, actually.
Well, it was basically when you would finish the conversation with him, he would stay at the bar, and when you would go down, I believe it's regardless of whether you win or lose, he would teleport to his office, whether you spotted him from the vent and voyeuristically watched him, or if you were actually to go in, he would be there, and you would be like, how did he just get from upstairs to downstairs? So we had actually added the stairwell you see right behind Tong's bar upstairs. We added this doorway that was locked with a stairwell leading down to the basement to sort of credibilize that.
But you can't use that door.
Yeah,
you can't.
There's a level 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, it's a high-level hacking, if I recall.
And if you hack it?
He teleports.
Yeah, he still teleports.
You work here?
Yeah. You could say that.
Good. I need to see your boss.
Really? Well, I'm sorry, Guilo. Mr. Tong Zihong sees no one today.
Look, I didn't come halfway around the world to take no for an answer. Do us both a favor and tell me where he is.
Or what? You get mad and tear down a few walls with those enhancements of yours? This place isn't named the Hive for nothing. It's got plenty of worker bees come out of the paneling to stop you. What is it you think Mr. Tong do for you anyway?
I'm looking for someone. A cybersecurity specialist named Ari Van Bruggen. You know him?
Never heard of him. What'd he do? Steal your girl? Owe you money?
He had a job go bad, and now he's on the run from the people who hired him. But you knew that already, because a man like Mr. Tong doesn't hire idiots. And this is the first place people like Van Bruggen come when they need help. So stop wasting my time and take me to Tong.
You've got it backward, boy. You're wasting my time. Van Bruggen is minor league player. Tong knows who he is. He just don't care. He's got bigger things to worry about.
You expect me to fall for that? Small-timers don't attract this much attention. They don't have bell tower soldiers staking out their apartments. Van Bruggen's pissed off somebody big. And there's no way Tong's going to ignore that kind of development in his town.
You're smarter than you look, yeah? Tong is keeping a close eye on things. Like you said, he's no fool. Van Bruggen is the hottest thing in town right now. But nobody in Hengsha is going to let an outsider in on the action, especially not a Guaido. You don't know the rules of the game around here.
Give me a break. I've been on this island long enough to know that Van Bruggen can't leave without Tong's help. He has to be hiding in Lower Hengsha somewhere, and Tong can tell me where.
You're pretty quick on the uptake, but you're still behind in the game. We hide Van Bruggen somewhere safe, but Tong's not going to tell you where. Speaking of safety, you still haven't told me who you are or who you work for. You tell me you want Van Bruggen, but when I ask why, you deflected the question. That's a lot of reason not to trust you.
You'll say anything to get rid of me, won't you? There's no way Tong can hold on to Van Bruggen for long. Not with the kind of resources his enemies are throwing into the search. He'll be dead within a week, and Tong with him. Unless somebody, namely me, takes the heat off, and soon.
I wonder if you would say that if you knew the kind of heat the Dragon Queen gives off. But I won't refuse a gift horse when it's staring me in my mouth. Tong's office is downstairs. I'll radio the others to let you through.